Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very special treat. We are going to be installing some GPaddles, courtesy of GPaddles from the UK. They are located in the United Kingdom, and I would like to give them a shout out for sending me these GPaddles to try on. Now, they make GPaddles for pretty much the R171 and C55, pretty much any of the AMGs in the mid-2000s that have this type of shifter. And it's the standard button shifter before they switched over to actual paddles. Now, they do carry a full line for these variants, as well as the W211 E55 and the CLS55, or any of the other paddle shifter variants of that class or platform. And as you can see, there's a difference between the two. Now, we're going to be working on the R171, and we're going to be putting on some paddles for that. And if you notice, I have two extra sets. Those two extra sets are going to go to two lucky AMG owners. Now, I'm going to go over the install process, as well as a little in-depth review of the paddles. Now, like how I mentioned before, the R171 is a button-based. And all it is it's a plastic hinge that goes over to a button circuit. And here's the button itself. Get a little closer to it so you guys can see it. And that's pretty much it. And when you press the buttons, it automatically presses that sequence, which sends signal that you're shifting gears. Now, this is pretty much the original piece, and it's plastic ABS composite, pretty much standard in the mid-2000s as far as the shifters go, before they switched off to aluminum and more sturdier paddles. But if you want something of a little upgrade, you can. Now, if you notice, there's three different colors. They sent me three different colors. One of these are going to be mine. We do have the standard silver, and they could paint them to red and obviously to yellow. And the finish on these are really, really clean. Very, very good. And you can see it's the same design as the factory. And that's pretty much all you're replacing. Now, word of caution. This is a disclaimer from GPaddles themselves. This housing for this SLK55, for example, be very careful and use extra caution when removing the factory piece. They're not held liable, neither am I, but I'm just letting you guys know, if you do plan to attempt this, take your time and work cautiously, as Mercedes does not produce a spare part for this housing. In other words, you'd have to buy the entire steering wheel to get this, or shop on eBay and see if you can find an extra set. Now, luckily, I have an extra set here at home, so I'm going to go ahead and use these as a practice so you guys can get an idea. And if you notice, I have an E55 as well, which I have upgraded 205 paddles, W205 paddles into my E55, which is a W211. The housing and the whole design layout is completely different. They also offer paddles for this as well. All you got to do is contact GPaddles, and obviously I'm going to post this in the comments down below, but you can contact them through gpaddles@gmail.com. Now, they are in the UK, so remember time differences, so at least allow 24 hours to get an adequate response. But they're very quick at responding and very professional as far as communicating with you. So that's always an added benefit as far as their service. I give that from what I experienced personally through them. Now, on to the gist. Now, if you notice, I have a set of tools here, some nylon panel poppers, and a couple of flathead screwdrivers, two different sizes, one slim and one a little thicker. The concept of this is, this ABS composite is relatively aged. Well, it's 15 years old from my vehicle. So anything with 15-year-old plastic, I'm going to be very, very careful, to be exact. All we're really doing is separating these two pegs here, at least on one side, pop it out of place, and you should be able to wiggle that completely out. Now, GPaddles does recommend using a hair dryer if you do not have a proper heat gun, with being very careful not to melt the plastic. You want to heat up the plastic where it gets it soft, where it allows it to flex, because this plastic doesn't really give much flex. So if you were to try to pry it here, guaranteed you're going to end up damaging are breaking this part. Now, this is a spare. This is not one for my vehicle. So if you notice, it's missing a nub here, a part of the plastic. And that just shows you how brittle this can be. Now, I'm pretty sure this was when they probably removed this paddle from my other wheel that I purchased. They probably damaged it some way, but it doesn't hurt the function, or it doesn't pop out of place, which is a benefit there. So just be very careful, as you don't want to damage this any further, because then you won't be able to get another one. Now, I am not going to use a heat gun on this one. I'm actually going to work on the already damaged one, and I'm going to show you pretty much how this comes off. Now, the steps are simple. They do offer instructions. When they send you out, they'll send you an email link and a hard copy in your package. Now, to the product. We'll continue with the install later. Now, the product itself matches the material from here, but honestly, I think this is a far better, more robust material. It's a ABS composite, has a similar structure and design as pretty much the factory buttons. They're not aluminum. Again, they are ABS composite plastic. And for those that are thinking, that's kind of like a cheap thing, well, you got to understand, the factory pedals are plastic as well. So these will actually, coexist with the actual housing, and you can see how it fits into place there, and it actually looks pretty good. The standard gloss. Now, these are their most common ones sold, and they're and pretty much for most people they're going to get the silver, but they do offer other colors at your request. I'm pretty sure there's a slight additional cost. I'm not too sure how much they have in each of inventory, but they send me one of each. These red ones are actually really nice. The finish on them is really good. There's no bubbles, there's no cracks, there's no seams. It looks phenomenal as far as the painting goes. Whoever did this painting did an excellent job, and the finish looks like it'll last a good amount of time. But as far as the material itself, this is actually pretty sturdy. It's pretty strong. It's not going to make much of a difference. It's a good trade-off, so to speak, for a little bit more of aesthetics and functionality retained, which is a plus. So let's use this damaged one here. Now, typically with something like this, heating it up should be your first thing you should do to make it a little bit more pliable. Another recommendation that they made is a little jigsaw, like a little saw, and pretty much just slowly slice your way through on the actual peg itself, which is this housing, if you're not going to use this. But obviously, if you're going to retain it, heating it up, the plastic, getting it kind of soft where it's flexible and not much of a hardened plastic where it has the more possibility of cracking and straining. Heating it up, flex it out, pop it out of place. Once you get one side off, it should be good. Now, I'm going to use a screwdriver. Now, I don't recommend this, but this one's already damaged. So I am just going to see more or less how much pressure this is involved. Now, one thing I do notice, look. Now, one thing I did notice here is, since there's already a cutout here, this easily pops out of place, and it's still intact, which is great. So this is pretty much what you have here. Now, like I said before, very old, so you want to take your time with it, and it's best to follow their instructions. Obviously, I went this route just so I can show you pretty much how it comes off. And if you notice, there's going to be a bottom and top peg. This part right here engages the button, which is right over here, so the car can detect when you're shifting. And this inner peg here, or this little slot, goes on the bottom end, so it keeps it in place, just like so. Now, one thing I do know that notice a difference besides the paddle extension is the socket ends here. They're solid cylinder type ends versus this one being a cylinder type end, but it is shaved on one angle, so you can allow you to flex into the hole a lot easier. Maybe that's something that they can look at to mimic pretty sure you can just sand a little bit just to replicate it, which shouldn't be hard. Most of you should be able to do that with a basic sandpaper, or you can use a file and just file it down and angle it the correct way by just mimicking this portion here. I'm not sure if you guys can get a good visual on this. I am using my phone, but there it is. You can see how it's angled there at that end. But that's where it's going to be kind of tough. So heating this up prior is going to be crucial. So now putting it back is no different. You're going to get the correct side. Obviously this is for your right. So it goes right here. We're going to put this in first. So put it in. Make sure this portion here is inside. It's not on the outside here. So perfect, just like that. Now, once you get that end inside the housing, you're going to just flex this ends in the hole here on this one side. Now this will be a pretty tight fit here, like that. And then you're gonna, once you get one side in here, you're just gonna work your way in just like that. Now remember, it's a little easier on mine because this is already damaged, as you can tell, so it was able to go in pretty simple. As long as it's small, it should retain. But once you do that, look how nice and good that is. Look how clean too. Honestly, I think that is a pretty good mod. Feels really good. I really do wish this was solid though. But I don't think you're gonna see it because where it's at on the wheel. You're only gonna see this portion, if any. But it's gonna feel really good. You don't have to worry about getting the button right. It's right here. And you could even press it from the top. Very minimal stress on the actual part itself, which is a good plus. Now this is a nice little concept from GPaddles, and it is great. It's been around for a while, but this is a good way to so you can see the actual in-depth install and review of this paddles versus just seeing it for sale on a supplier's ad. Now, obviously, like I mentioned before, I'm only going to keep one of these. The other two are going to go to two lucky AMG owners. Now, I'll put pretty much the models that these paddles fit. Now, the way we're going to do this contest is pretty simple. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and then in the comments down below, type in your year, make, and model, and I want these GPaddles. Now, for the color sequence themselves, go ahead and specify which one you want. Now, there's no guarantee you'll get the specified color you want because I only have one of each. But if you want the yellow, say you want the yellow. You want the red, say you want the red. You want the silver, say you want the silver. I'm gonna select two lucky individuals based on what their answers are. Obviously, they're going to get the correct corresponding color if it's not the same. If I select two individuals that have, let's say they wanted silver, I'm going to send silver to one. Well, I'm going to message that other individual and let them know, hey, you didn't get chosen for the silver first, but you're the second lucky individual to win these paddles. You want this color or that color of the remaining. And that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. Whatever's left, I'll go ahead and keep and I'll install on my vehicle. But that's pretty much it. I do appreciate you guys for watching. This is Panzer, and you guys have an awesome one.